The U.S. government has been brokering clandestine meetings between the UAE and Israel to combat their common threat, Iran. Now, that's according to a new Wall Street Journal report. Israel only has diplomatic relations, though, with two Arab states, Egypt and Jordan. But are the tides beginning to shift in this new millennium? Joining us to discuss, former Pentagon official Mike Maloof. So, Mike, first, what do you make of these secret meetings between the UAE and Israel, given that historically they have bad blood over the Palestine issue?
Well, I think that this is an attempt by the United States to keep all the players in line. We're beginning to see a breakout. And what isn't being reported in that Wall Street Journal report is some activity that's occurring behind the scenes, which I'm happy to make you aware of.
Please.
The UAE has had secret meetings with the Iranians.
Of their own.
Of their own. And they had signed an agreement to between their coast guards. And at the same time, you have UAE deciding to leave Yemen, which raises even further issues.
Interesting. That's why they're pulling back the troops, you're saying, from last month.
Yes. And as a consequence, it's gotten the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, KSA, to begin to rethink their entire strategy for Yemen, which is upsetting Israel on the one hand, and it's also causing an erosion of the whole U.S. policy for that region as a consequence against Iran, because the Iranians see that if the Houthis ultimately take over, and they're basically occupying the capital of Yemen now, that it would jeopardize their flow of maritime traffic between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. There's another strait.
A little waterway.
A little waterway, and it's called the Bab al-Mandab, and that's another choke point, which could affect Israel itself.
So the Israelis don't want that.
No. And so what I'm seeing, what I'm assessing in all of this is that the U.S., with Brian Hook, is now trying to get everybody to line up and stay on track. And apropos to your previous report, there's now a report that the people on the Gibraltar court has released that ship, which indicates that the solidarity behind the U.S. position in the Gulf is beginning to wane.
Really? So is that why then Brian Hook is pushing so hard to broker a relationship specifically between Israel and these other Gulf states that
that's what it appears to be? And so, and all of this is just evolving now. All of this behind the scenes is going on, notwithstanding the Wall Street Journal report.
Well, so let me ask you this then, Mike. So, you know, the guise of peace, if there ever was the guise of peace in the region between, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iran, etc., it's probably not a real thing, right? Given that Iran has never been invited to any of these meetings, including maybe not so conspicuously left out of the Warsaw meeting, the conference back in February of this year. If they are not invited for peace talks, Mike, is that an indication then of I don't want to say global, I'm just going to say a little short of a global policy towards conflict with Iran?
Well, that possibility is always out there. Some unrelated episode could occur, the whole thing could go up in flames. But what we're seeing is something since that Warsaw meeting emerging here. The Russians, for example, are coming through with a much more all-inclusive, what would we call it, a strategic collective security plan, which would include the Iranians.
Very diplomatic term.
Yes. But you also have another meeting that the Iranians that the Russians are going to be holding on Afghanistan around August 22. In which U.S. and Iranian reps will be there. The subject is Afghanistan, but inevitably you've got these two sides now coming together. So what we're seeing is not a formal get-together, it's more back channeling that's beginning to occur. And the Russians and the Chinese both are brokering this what amounts to a collective security approach.
So then are they part of Iran's, coalition?
Yes, because what the Russians are proposing, in effect, is a safe zone within the Gulf. And so this is emerging. The Russian Foreign Ministry just put out a concept paper that talked about this possibility. They want to get all the people together in a form of a committee, and they've invited the United States. No response from the U.S.
Interesting.
But it would include perhaps the Saudis, the UAE, Iran.
All the players.
All the players. Whereas the United States stays just with the Saudis.
With their select group.
Very select group. And what's happening is it's having the effect, frankly, of isolating the United States and Israel as a consequence.
All right, we will see. We'll leave it right there and see how this unfolds in the coming weeks. As always, appreciate your expertise. Mike Maloof.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.